That's actually what I like about it, to be honest, is because at a restaurant, it is kind of the same thing. You're doing the same menu and stuff like that. Catering is really cool. What I tell people is because you're at different venues, you have different menus, and it is more of a dynamic job because it's not the same every day. My dyslexic brain doesn't work like that, so this is really good for me because I get to see so many different things.
Grew up in the industry. My dad had a catering company and a restaurant when I was a kid out in Edison Park. He did the rooftops at Wrigley Field, and we did Taste of Chicago for Sweet Baby Ray's. That's kind of how our paths crossed when I was about 10 years old. From there, went to culinary school, went to Johnson Wales in Providence, Rhode Island. I didn't end up finishing there. I ended up playing basketball at Robert Morris, which is a D1 NAIA school here in Chicago. And so ended up playing basketball there, continued my culinary career, got an internship, underneath working with Tony Montalbano. So I was at the Art Institute of Chicago. I got a chance to work at Spiaggia, River Rose, Partoma, all those restaurants that he was in control of at that time. And so, and then my career kind of just took off. You keep your head down and keep pushing. And now I'm the executive chef at Blue Plate here.
All right, everybody, welcome to the Duce Raymond Podcast. Today we're here with a good friend of mine, Charlie Harris. He's the executive chef of Blue Plate Catering. They're the largest catering company in Chicago. Charlie, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Duce. Excited to be here.
Oh, man. Well, this has been kind of a long time coming. We've had this set up a few times, and the catering business gets in the way sometimes, and that's okay. Well, why don't you start by telling the audience a little bit about yourself, how you got into the culinary industry in the beginning, and then how our paths crossed recently?
Yeah, sure. So grew up in the industry. My dad had a catering company and a restaurant when I was a kid out in Edison Park. He did the rooftops at Wrigley Field, and we did Taste of Chicago for Sweet Baby Ray's. That's kind of how our paths crossed when I was about 10 years old. From there, went to culinary school, went to Johnson Wales in Providence, Rhode Island. I didn't end up finishing there. I ended up playing basketball at Robert Morris, which is a D1 NAIA school here in Chicago. And so ended up playing basketball there, continued my culinary career, got an internship, underneath working with Tony Montalbano. So I was at the Art Institute of Chicago. I got a chance to work at Spiaggia, River Rose, Partoma, all those restaurants that he was in control of at that time. And so, and then my career kind of just took off. You keep your head down and keep pushing. And now I'm the executive chef at Blue Plate here.
That's so amazing. Yeah, Tony has always been an inspiration to me. All of his restaurants seem amazing, and I actually got a chance to work with him one time at that event. You saw the picture of that dish we did, and just to get pats on the back from guys like him and Jimmy Banos, it was a special day for me for sure. So let's talk a little bit about some of the stuff that just happened recently. And I think this really speaks well to how the industry is, and specifically catering, how anything can really come up and how you have to adapt. And so a week ago, we were supposed to do this podcast, and I got a phone call from you, and it took about 2 seconds for you to say, Duce, I really just has to ask you something. and it was like small talk took about 2 seconds to get over with. And why don't you explain the situation, what happened, and why you decided to reach out right away?
Yeah, so we were doing an event up in Lake Forest for a high-end client of ours. They wanted us to do like a Brazilian grill out, so like hanging, and I was like, okay, we can do it. They had ordered a grill. The grill that they wanted, they sent it over, and it was missing the top piece to kind of hang all the meats in that showcase. So I'm like, well, this isn't going to be great. This isn't what they're looking for. So I just took it upon myself I was like, well, who should I call? And I'm like, we had the podcast scheduled that later that day, and I was like, this is the day before the event. And I'm like, so I called you up, and I was like, you set me up with Greg from Chicago Culinary Kitchens. And within 24 hours between you, Greg, like to put it together, he came out the next day. I mean, it was, I can't explain how thankful I am, but it's just kind of how this industry is. I feel like we have each other's backs, and you came through in the clutch for us, and we'll be forever grateful. And you saw some of the shots from the event. I mean, it was absolutely beautiful. Gorgeous. Yeah, it was awesome.
So cool.
Yeah.
That's something that in throughout my career, even through culinary school, and then as I moved from restaurants into catering and everything, it's like asking for help. Sometimes people have a really hard time with that. They feel like they have to take everything on themselves and figure it out. But really, you can get so much just by asking people to help you, especially people that you know in the industry. And sometimes I just think it sounds so simple, but people just don't take the time to think about, well, who could really help me, bring this vision forward. And so I give you a lot of credit for reaching out. And Greg came through in the clutch, man. I told him what we were looking for, and he's like, well, I got the exact thing you need. And he's so funny to deal with. He's so like nonchalant about stuff. He's got such a unique personality. I love Greg, and they're really doing an amazing job at Chicago Culinary Kitchen. They have some really unique items, and him and his wife Christine really put a lot of effort into coming up with new products on their menu and stuff like that. So a lot of credit to them.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, it kind of goes to what we were talking about earlier. It's like, the industry is just crazy like that. How like if you have to rely on other people and you have to reach out to people, and I mean you can't do it by yourself. So, I mean that was awesome that you set me up on that. That was awesome. Greg's great people too. Yeah, absolutely.
So it was so cool. Earlier this year, I was asked to give a presentation at Catersource, and that's where I saw you. And I had no idea that you were the executive chef of Blue Plate. Like I said, my uncle and your dad were like tight growing up and everything. And then when your dad had tailgaters and doing the Wrigley rooftops and working with Sweet Baby Ray's at Taste of Chicago, that's how I met you. But then we really haven't talked or seen each other in 15 years or something like that. Yeah. And when you came up to me and I said, well, what are you doing here? He's like, I'm the executive chef of Blue Plate. My jaw dropped. I was like, man, I was so proud and shocked. Like, I had no idea. I think I kind of heard through your dad that you were into culinary and stuff like that, but I had no idea your career path. And for people that don't know, Blue Plate is a huge business, a huge catering company, lots of corporate events, big time, fancy, but they also do picnics. I mean, they do really everything. Talk a little bit about the transition from where you were into Blue Plate and some of the different events that you guys do there.
I mean, it's the variety of events that we do is, like you said, I mean, it could be anything from a picnic, some simple stuff, to a high-end gala where we're doing 800 plated sit down. We're doing amuse-bouche, we're doing foams, we're doing gels. It depends on what the event is. We do science, events, Field Museum, Art Institute, things like that incorporate, gastronomy and things of that nature. So we go from anything like that then to doing like the Chicago Marathon where we're doing box lunches for, 20,000 people. We did a DNC 2 weeks ago. We signed an NDA, so I can't get into the specifics on like who we cooked for, but some major broadcast networks was a part of it. Their breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and then we did some other stuff within the United Center and around it. We did this like I was slinging flatbreads for like 5 days straight. We did like. I mean, the flatbreads were great. We partnered with Phil Stefani, and I got to work with him a bit, and his team was great. So it's crazy how many doors it opens and how widespread of a business it is. We do business dining accounts all across the city for some major corporations, and the business just continues to grow. So yeah, it's different from what I was doing before. A lot of restaurant stuff. We did events at the Art Institute. I helped open the Met in New York City. There was 3 restaurants in the Met and 5 retail outlets and then events. So, I mean, it's been a wide variety of things.
Got some experience juggling different things there.
Right. So I think some of that background definitely helped prepare me for this. I don't think anything really could have prepared me for Blue Plate. I think my boss and Dan Joseph, who's absolutely incredible to work with, has really made it an easy transition for me. But he told me like the first 6 months you're going to be here, you're going to hate it. It's just so different than anything you've ever experienced. And then we have the delivery side of business, which is it's a whole other entity of what we do. So, but no, I mean, I love it here, and it's been a challenge. And you and I, we like challenges and different things. So I mean, I think it was, it's been a lot of fun. I just celebrated my 3rd year anniversary here, so
that's so
exciting.
Cool. one thing you touched on working with like Stefani's, and something that we've been working on is the collaboration side of things. And that brings this phrase to mind. My buddy Sean out in California says all the time, a rising tide lifts all ships. And I think it's such a cool thing that Blue Plate goes out of its way to work with other companies, because I really do think it creates a better experience for the guest, and it just creates this atmosphere where sometimes catering, I think, can be very territorial, where caterers don't really work together too much, and it's kind of cutthroat. People are bidding on different jobs, and it is a real business, and I get that, and we have to deal with similar situations. But I think that Blue Plate can rise above because of where they're at, and start working with some of these other catering companies, and it really sets a precedent. I think it's amazing. We're doing a collaboration video shoot just this week, and then later on, you asked me to be part of the LCA presentation, and I think that's so cool, and I'm excited to see what else is down the road and working together, and Blue Plate could be doing a picnic with a Sweet Baby Ray station or something like that. And I think that's so cool that Blue Plate has that mindset. Talk a little bit about how you guys have discussed that internally.
Yeah, first off, I think it's important, like we kind of talked about, like reaching out for help, right, when you need it. I think when we look at people are asking for like, hey, can we do a barbecue buffet? Well, I look at ourselves like we don't have a smoker to we don't have that's not necessarily our niche. That's not necessarily what we do. So I think you want to work with the best, and if you can collaborate and have partners, I think that's important. So we opened up that conversation, and it's a win-win for both of our businesses. And if there's something that we're not 100% at, I'm going to reach out to someone, and I want to work with the best. I want to be around the best. Where I'm talking to Steven Sandoval, who has Diego down the street, and they're opening up a new restaurant in 8 months. And Steven has a great background as a chef, and we're talking about collaborating on some stuff as well. So I think that there's nothing wrong with that. It's not about having too much pride or whatever the case may be. It's about utilizing the best, and it's the best product for the client. I think there's enough business in Chicago too, and the volume is what it is. And as we've seen business pick back up, that we all might need a little bit of help. So it's good. It's good.
Yeah.
That's what I meant about, reaching out, and you can't do it all yourself. And there's no way I'd be where I'm at if it wasn't for the people I've surrounded myself with. And, that's 100% the case for us. And I think we're at the point where, we're in September and October right now. So we're going to revisit it in November once we get a catch our breath here and kind of set up. We're going to have a fun little station that we're going to collaborate with you guys on. And our director of sales is excited about it. The owner's excited about it. So we're all pretty stoked about it over here.
It is time to put your head down. September and October are crazy wedding months and corporate events. There's a whole bunch of stuff going on right now. Let's take a step back and more of the operational side. What's a day in a life as the executive chef of a large catering company look like? What kind of responsibilities do you take on day to day? What do you delegate to your sous chefs and to some of the other departments?
Normally, first thing when I get in, I'm checking in with the team. I'm checking in with the lead members, right? Where are we at? Checking on flavor, checking on consistency. Timing and temperature is huge in our business, especially if it's delivery. Just making sure we're following our SOPs, basically. And then for me, I like to make sure that if we have a new menu coming out, if I'm writing the menu and then we're doing a tasting, I like to see it through, especially for the first few times. From the tasting to the event, all the way through for the whole thing. Every day is different, as in this industry.
That's actually what I like about it, to be honest, is because at a restaurant, it is kind of the same thing. You're doing the same menu and stuff like that. Catering is really cool. What I tell people is because you're at different venues, you have different menus, and it is more of a dynamic job because it's not the same every day. My dyslexic brain doesn't work like that, so this is really good for me because I get to see so many different things.
Right. No, exactly. And it changes, but for me, the food comes first, right? And I want to make sure that the quality of what we're doing, it's my name at the end of the day on that food, and I want to make sure no matter what it is, the quality is top shelf. And so I try to focus on food, menus, training the team, consistency, things of that nature. There's a lot that goes into a catering company, right? So, time and temps and And I mean, we're doing deliveries, so that obviously is a huge deal when it comes to temperature and things of that nature. But our sous chefs are making sure the day-to-day stuff is being handled. They're there to support our vision in the goal that we want to be the best that we can possibly be.
Who does the ordering and the scheduling in your
We,
operation?
we have a purchaser that does all the purchasing. The purchaser has its own receiving team. I mean, we're doing the volume that we're doing is so heavy, and as you know, that food that comes in the back door. I mean, that's where it all begins, right? Well, it actually starts where are we purchasing from, obviously, but not to get too off subject. So our purchase team has a receiving team that handles that. As far as the scheduling goes, our sous chefs will handle the scheduling for. We have a sous chef that handles hotline, sous chef that handles cold line. Our executive pastry chef handles all things on his end, and we're looking for a pastry sous chef. So if anyone's listening by the time this
Shout
comes
out
out,
for pastry sous chef.
yeah,
Nice.
exactly. So always looking for good people, always looking for talent. Always.
Absolutely. I think that's one of the biggest challenges in this industry, probably every industry, is keeping and retaining great talent, because especially for us, the seasonality really hits us hard in January, February, March. You don't have the dollars coming in to offset the labor that you want to keep on hand for the busy months. So it is a challenge at times, and I'm sure Blue Plate has some of the similar issues where it's like you can't keep everybody on, because the sales could be, $1 million one month and $10 million the next month,
Yeah, no, I agree. I think it's about, but that's the toughest part of our business, right? Is the dips. I mean, strategically, I think when I'm hiring someone, I'm letting them know come at the end of October, if you're not in the top 75 of our employees out of, I oversee about 170 right now. So, I mean, we have different departments that manage that, but if you're not in the top 75, there's not going to be that much work for you. And then you have some people that have worked here for 20 to 25 years. So how you balance that. But I think it's not okay, you're not going to have a job in November. It's the volume's going to dip. So pick up the hours you can now, and then when there's time, we try to keep people on training, consistency. Because even if we spend that money in November, we'll get it back by not having to rehire someone in March, in November. And then December it picks up. I mean, you know how it goes, but January, February are pretty dead. We've, the business dining accounts and delivery and some of that stuff has helped kind of pick that up. So we try to find creative ways to, keep jobs and keep people busy, so, hiring. I feel like you talk to any chef, I mean, it's just the biggest challenge, especially in catering, I feel like.
So recently I saw online, you just did a photo shoot, and you had mentioned that it was spring and summer for 2025. Where do you find your inspiration for what you're going to be coming up in these, upcoming seasons? And what's on the menu? What could you tell us about the pictures looked amazing. It really, really did. It was so good. So tell us a little bit about that photo shoot, and then where do you keep up with the trends, or is it mainly trend based? Is it just what you like to cook? Is it what's in season?
Sure. So spring, summer, we stay ahead of it, right? Because we're selling way ahead of time. So we want to make sure that, we keep our photo shoots and our tastings internally way ahead. As far as how I think about it and how the menu comes together, it's a collaboration, really. I mean, the director of sales, they see that they're getting requests from their salespeople. Our salespeople are seeing requests for specific items or specific things, or maybe I did a new item this past year and that's been people have been loving it, right? So maybe we do something on that path. So I get feedback on how many entrees do we want to do, how many proteins do we want to do. Okay, that people are loving beef right now and filet or petite, whatever that is. We'll kind of go that path, and that's where the menu process will start for me, and then I'll say, okay, I want to do 5 entrees, 2 vegan options because vegan's been heavy, gluten-free, dairy-free, kind of that hits all the marks, 2 of those options. So that's kind of where it begins, and this begins, months ago. And then I have about a couple months to kind of get the ideas on paper and start testing out recipes. As far as my inspiration goes, I mean, I try to eat out as much as possible. I try to try new food and new chefs, and I think I get inspired by seeing what other people are doing. Obviously, you take an inspiration from that, and you take the background and the history and what I've learned from the chefs that I've worked for and come up with your own dish and be inspired by what's going on around you and keeping up with trends.
How much do you take into consideration the production of the item? Because a lot of times, well, almost all the time, this is going to be produced, with a separate team offsite.
Sure.
Sometimes they're not in a professional kitchen; they're in a back room with
Right.
all the equipment you brought. How much does that come into your thought process when you're developing these menus?
Oh yeah, I mean, funny little story about that. So when I first started at Blue Plate, I did my first like tasting menu, and I like my hors d'oeuvres would have like 5 or 6 or components to them or whatever the case may be, and they're like, "Chef, that's not going to work. There's just no way we're going to be able to pull that off." So I think you got to, it's KISS, keep it simple, silly, I'll say, but it's you got to keep it basic and simplify things for your team to be able to execute. And one of the things that Tony taught me really well was that Italian food in general, Mediterranean, like it's 4 or 5 simple ingredients that are done really well. I mean, I think that's something, Duce, that you guys do so well. Like you make the best brisket in Illinois, hands down. I mean, it's there's certain things you keep it simple. You know what you're doing. And I think that's kind of the baseline. I try not to have too many components, but whatever those components are, they got to smack. They really got to, they have to be the best, whatever the sauce is or the vegetable that's on that plate. There should be a little bit of a story or a background. It shouldn't be an afterthought. The whole dish needs to come together. So I think that's important,
Definitely makes a lot of sense. And that's one thing that I have gone, full circle with, like getting like really creative on different items, and then it just doesn't work. Well, it could work, but the execution on site isn't really what you envisioned. So the simpler you make it, the more you can dial into 3 or 4 components. It's going to be a much better experience, and the staff isn't going to be pulling their hair out. If they're at ease, they know what they're doing, they're comfortable with it, they're going to be able to execute it better. It'll be better for the guests in the long run.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think, I think that's the biggest thing is it's got to be simple for the team to be able to execute. I think the other thing is like we think about like our plating in general, and just since we're on the menu subject, I think, we talked about like throwing microgreens on a dish. I just like it just makes me cringe when I see a chef like throw some rainbow spectrum on there, and I'm like, well, what is that? So I think microgreens are great, but like at the end of the day, it's like, we're doing all right. So I did a new hors d'oeuvre last week on this for the spring summer for next year. So it's a chicken tinga on a tostada, like a little mini one biter.
Yep.
I did pickled red onion because there's cooked onions in tinga obviously, and then instead of putting like micro cilantro on it or cilantro, which micro cilantro would work great to kind of like upgrade it, enhance a little bit, we get coriander blossom. So we have the blossoms are growing out of when cilantro is done and being picked. The blossom will come out the top of it. So we pick our own on our rooftop garden. And when we're doing an event for 1,000, obviously I can't keep up with that. So I can source coriander blossom locally, which is great. But for me, like it's about seasonality, and it's about keeping things like we do a lot of volume. So if I can buy locally from people, to reduce our carbon footprint, we have a huge opportunity to kind of put our footprint on the future. I mean, we both have kids, and like what's going to happen in 30 years, and what's going on with supply and demand and all of that. But if we can source locally, I think that's so important. And also, like, I mean, an apple from Southeast Michigan, pretty much right now into through October and November, like that's the best apple you can get. An heirloom tomato in June. Like, let's keep it simple.
Right. No, that makes a lot of sense. I was laughing when you were talking about the microgreens because we got a presentation coming up at your at Blue Plate for the LCA, and I purposely left this picture with the salmon dish with the rainbow mixed microgreens on it, so I could make a joke about. Don't worry, Charlie already yelled at me about the rainbow mix on the salmon. It's gonna be great. Let's talk about that because you talked about sustainability. I know one place that we've both visited that's really cool is the 4-star mushrooms, and something that's, we talk about what's on trend. They have these unbelievable mushrooms there, specifically the lion's mane mushrooms. Can you talk a little bit about your relationship with 4-star, and then also that whole mushroom station you came up with? Talk us through that.
Yeah, sure. So I met Joe Weber, who's the founder of Four Star Mushrooms, him and Sean, and just a really smart guy. Like, we just started talking. I'm just like, God, this guy is really smart. And we talk about sustainability. What they're doing they're 8 blocks from us, down the street. So talk about reducing our carbon footprint. But yeah, he's just a really smart guy. They're doing things really sustainable. We actually even use their compost in our garden, the mushroom compost, and so it's reused. And so it's really full circle that what they have going on over there. If whoever, if you're watching this, you should go get a tour over there. It's one of the coolest facilities that you'll ever see. But so we thought about, we talked about vegan and vegetarian, and lion's mane is a new superfood. It's great for the brain. You're seeing people put it like capsules in the morning or in their coffee, and so it's definitely blowing up. And so we talk about staying ahead of trends. And so about a year and a half ago, our sous chef and I, we came up with this lion's mane mushroom station. And so it's blue oyster mushrooms, and then we did 2 different lion's mane dishes. One of them was a lion's mane creme brulee. So that's something a little out of the box and different. You get the sweet and savory to it. We dehydrated the extra leftover mushrooms, turned them into like a dirt, took crushed up Oreos for a little sweetness, put that as like the dirt on top, and then edible flowers. And so just like fun stuff like that. The other one's the lion's mane mushroom sandwich. And we talk about like, some people are like mushrooms, like, oh, I don't want to eat that. I'm not interested in that. But, so we take the lion's mane, basically made it taste like smoked turkey breast. We smoked it, soaked it in koji, so umami, lemongrass, ginger, soy flavors essentially, and then roasted it to kind of dry it out. So you kind of had that turkey breast texture to it.
Did you kind of press it too when you were
pressed it down to get those juices out of it, and then basically it's house-made focaccia that we used to make at Terza Piano and Cafe Spiaggia. And so house-made rosemary, sea salt focaccia, black truffle aioli, wild arugula with a touch of lemon, and manchego, your sheep's milk cheese from Spain. So it was such a tasty item. I did it last week at the old post office on the rooftop for like a VIP party for 20. I did the little station. I was out there. Unfortunately, like the wind picked up, so the flowers are blowing off. So I was like picking the stems. But outside of that, people were like just blown away by it, and it's we've had it for about a year now. And once we get someone to like see it and we sell it, they love it. It's just like,
right. You got to get them to try it. You got to kind of
get people excited to try it. And so
it's like the Alabama chicken. People are scared of it with the white sauce, but after they try it, they're like, "What is this? This is amazing."
Why would I ever eat any other barbecue sauce again? Right?
Yeah. The culinary industry is very challenging, but with challenge there comes reward too. So talk about how you think about the reward for working so hard. You have a very stressful job, very challenging job. You have issues that come up when the grill doesn't get delivered and you have to come up with some new idea in 24 hours. How do you feel about that, and why do you think that works for you and your personality, your lifestyle?
That's a great question. I don't know that I've really thought about that much. I played sports, right? So I'm naturally energetic. I get excited. I think over time I fell in love with food. I think growing up working with my dad, he was great to the people that he worked with and his employees. And so I think I love the personal relationship that the relationships that come out of this industry. Look at you and I.
Right.
Running into each other, and I can call you up for a grill. Like all that is like, when at the end of the day, you sit back and you're like, wow, this is pretty freaking cool. I look at the relationships is important to me. I have 15 people that work at Blue Plate today that I worked with 15 years ago. So I think that speaks volumes about the culture and how we want to drive, and also, I'm proud of those people and what they've accomplished and done, and what they've done for me to be able to accomplish what I've accomplished, and what we're going to continue to do. So I think that's the biggest thing for me, I think, is the relationships. And then the reward from a food standpoint, like seeing someone's face when, they try that, that lion's mane, or they try, one of the new hors d'oeuvres we're rolling out, and, surprising people and pushing and, just giving it your best effort every day. And Jim has this saying on the wall. Jim's the owner of Blue Plate. Jim Moran, and so he wrote on a napkin like 1983, happy people making people happy, right? So I think making people happy is kind of, I grew up in the hospitality industry, and so I think it's just super important to me, and it makes me happy, like going home at the end of the day and looking in the mirror and being like, we really gave it our all today, and I think that it's a special feeling, and I know you've been through it your whole life. You grew up in the industry, so
I tell people, especially if they're just getting started, and I call it the servant's heart. You really have to, just like you said, exactly how you said it, is it has to make you happy to make other people happy. And at the end of the day, that's what our industry is all about. Yeah, it's creating experiences, and it's about being innovative and, being the best you can be. But you really has to make you feel good to work hard to make other people happy. Because if you don't have the guests coming back over and over again, we're not going to have a job. So I think that there's so much about what the first part about you said really rang true to me. The camaraderie in the kitchen and working with the team and seeing people elevate and grow, there's not much of a better feeling. I mean, it's almost like the parent feeling, too. It's like seeing these guys really grow and get it. And now I'm to the point where we've had people similar to you, like working at our business for like 20 years, where sometimes I'll go in the kitchen and start trying to like do something. They'll be like, Duce, you don't have to be in here. We got it. We got it. Yeah, sure. And I mean, that's such a great feeling. And it's not like I don't want to help them or anything like that, but if I'm doing something, I'm almost like taking some pride away from them at some point. Like they love being able to show that they've got it dialed in and it's going to be great and stuff like that. And you have to let people fly sometimes and understand that dynamic of when to step in and when it's better to take a step back.
Yeah,
so
I
good,
think
man.
that's such a great point. Like let people fly. I think that was something that I had trouble with. Like when I first was, my first executive chef job, I was 25. I had no business being an executive chef. I was basically like an interim executive chef. I was just trying to keep my head above water, and I was thankful for the opportunity. And I think that's how you get anything is you have to jump in both feet without being ready necessarily. But letting people fly though, like I think eventually, like it's like you're never going to get anywhere if you're breathing over someone's neck. Like you're never going to, especially if you want to grow and you want to work at a bigger company, a bigger place. Like there's no way I'd be able to do that at where I work now. I mean, you have to be able to train and let people do their thing. Because, most of the time you'll be surprised and, they'll do a great job and you'll be rewarded for it. So it's all full circle.
Yeah, definitely. So what's next for Charlie at Blue Plate? What are you guys working on, or what other projects do you have going on in the background? You're going to join a basketball team in your spare time. What's going on?
I don't hoop much anymore. I golf now here and again, but not much time for that, the kiddos. But I'd say, so we have a bunch of RFPs. We did a RFP tasting last week for business downtown. So I think we're further developing our business dining opportunities across the board. So
do you like that business as far as from like a business standpoint, the business dining? Does that really work profitability and execution wise and stuff like that?
Yeah, I mean, all the contracts can be set up different. There could be a P&A or P&L, and it all depends on, or break even. It all depends on what the contract is. But I think we're not going to get into anything unless it's going to be mutually beneficial. Mm-hmm. And so I think it's good business because right now we have 5 business dining accounts, and we're potentially 7 or 8. But
was it tough to do that after COVID because people are working more from home and stuff like that?
Yeah, so a few of them, Blue Plate I wasn't there before COVID, but they already had those accounts, and then they kind of came back slowly. So Mondays and Fridays are still pretty much like a wash for us. It's Tuesday through Thursdays when we're seeing that volume. It's the same with delivery, whether it's not our business dining account or we just do delivery across the city as well. But Tuesday through Thursday, we're seeing that volume, but it's definitely slowed down. But I feel like we're seeing it pick up slowly, as the years have come back from COVID. But yeah, I think it's a great opportunity from like the way I look at it, because if we're doing 5 or 7 or 8 business dining accounts, I could run the same menu on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday for 3 different accounts, and the same person isn't going to see it. So I'm saving on food costs. I'm saving on labor. We're streamlining
One of those
things.
days, one day a month could be barbecue too. You never know.
You're a true businessman, Duce. And we're gonna keep collaborating. So absolutely,
Yeah,
I definitely see that in the future here for us. So
that's really cool.
yeah.
What else? What else is going on in the future besides the RFPs? Anything
Yeah, so we're
big cooking?
redoing our third floor
Oh yes,
right
talk
now.
about that. Yes, that's
Yeah,
exciting.
there's just so much that goes on here. I'm like, it's like my head spins when you're like talking about it. I'm like, holy Christ.
Yeah.
So that's going on the third floor. And so putting a lot of capital into it, but it's going to be I think a little under 400 person indoor event space. We're going to be able to fit almost up to 1,000 with the
Wow.
outdoor and indoor. So to have our own space to be able to sell and just to continue to expand our property here in West Loop, I think. This is such a great building. You've been in here. I mean, it's a huge
Beautiful.
facility. So
When
we're
do you
very
plan on,
fortunate to have it.
I know everything in construction is crazy, but when do you want to have that open by? Is that a 2025 or 2026 deal?
It's looking like mid 2025 right now, but
Mm-hmm.
you know how that goes. It's always a moving date. And then while we're doing the third floor, we have a first floor retail space that we're looking to build that out in that timeline, and then probably 2026 open something up, whether it's going to be like a restaurant, cafe, or we're still looking at what that's going to look like and how it's going
Right.
to look. So I tried to get away from restaurants, and then they're just pulling me right back in. So it seems, but yeah, a
That'll be fun.
lot of great opportunities. Let's see what else. We got LCA coming up at the end of October, and you're
Oh
gonna be a
yeah.
part of that.
Tell everybody what the LCA is and kind of how that works and why it's being held at Blue Plate right now.
Yeah, sure. So it's the leading caterers of America, and Peter McCaffrey runs the culinary side of things there. And so there's an operating, there's operators that go there. There's chefs that go there, owners of catering companies and small, that go there. So it's an educational thing for a couple of days. Last year it was in Seattle. We went to Pike Place Market. We got to see a bunch of cool stuff. So it's educational. It's collaboration as well. Chefs get together, share ideas from all over the country. The best catering companies in the country are there, and it's collaboration with Catersource. So that's kind of how I got into Catersource. That's how we reconnected. So
Okay.
it's kind of full circle that you're coming now to Blue Plate to help.
Yes.
You're doing a demo, and we're gonna kind of do it. We're gonna do a demo together, and you're gonna give some a 45-minute class about how you got to where you are and some social media stuff, which we're
Yeah.
really excited about.
Yeah, no, I'm really excited about that. I think, I'm excited to be in the room with all these other top caterers. I'm hoping to be able to, make some connections and hopefully learn some as well. Even though I'm presenting, I think it's just great. It's like you have to surround yourself with great people, and this is a great opportunity for me too. So I'm excited about it for sure. And I'm really excited. I don't know if I told you this on the phone earlier, but we're doing that video on Thursday. I hope to capture some of that footage and then be able to play it for them while we're plating up that dish. I think that's going to be really cool. I just think that they're going to be really impressed.
It's gonna be we're gonna blow it out. It's gonna be great. And we got some other stuff on the agenda. We're gonna go see Ever later that day. We're gonna
Oh,
get
yeah,
a
that's
tour, and with how the bear came out and how much they shot in Ever for the bear, and
That's
people
so
are
cool.
really excited about that. Have
Who's
you
the
watched
chef there at Ever?
Curtis Duffy, who I've followed since I ever really got into the fine dining scene of it?
Yeah.
He's so talented and such a talent. He's a good guy and also a very, very talented chef. So we're excited to get a little tour of Ever, and we're going to go see 4 Star Mushrooms, go see Joe Weber.
Okay.
So, and then obviously the main presentation is going to be you here, and we got you for 2 hours, which is going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And I'm excited to collaborate with you on that. It's going to be fun.
Yeah, it's going to be really, really cool. Well, maybe I'll sneak into Ever too.
Oh, you should. We were gonna talk offline, but you should come on the whole tour with us and just enjoy the day. And
Really?
then you have an opportunity to talk with the team. Absolutely.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that'd be
yeah.
amazing.
I thought you and Peter had talked about that already, so I'm gonna put that
Yeah,
on the
make sure
agenda.
that's cool, kosher. But yeah, I would love that.
Yeah,
Definitely.
if you got the time, absolutely, 100%, 100%, dude.
Sweet. All right. Well, I think we're ready for the lightning round. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm gonna do my best here.
All right, this is something we like to do to have fun at the end of the episode. Lightning round. I'm going to say a phrase, a person, a thing. You're just going to give us your first quick response. So, lightning round. Deep dish or thin crust?
Deep dish.
Your last meal.
Guinea hen wrapped in pancetta, caul fat, aromatics over Rubichon potatoes.
Very chefy. Farmer's market.
Well, I bring the kids to Park Ridge, but I mean, Park Ridge doesn't have the same variety. I would say Green City is the best farmer's market.
Michelin star. What's that mean to you?
Should come to catering. We should get an opportunity.
Right? Yeah.
Michelin star. I think of Duffy when I think of Michelin.
Sustainability.
Quality.
AI.
When I got to think of a creative, goofy way to say something, I'll type my menu into AI and see what it spits out, I guess.
Wrigley Field.
Rooftops, baby.
Sous vide.
Just that's a tough. I mean, what's sous vide? You could
Do you
sous vide
use
fucking
it?
anything.
Do you use sous vide at Blue
Yeah, I've used sous vide. We don't use it as much here right now because we don't have outlets at when we like certain places and kitchens. We're setting up in the middle of a closet type thing, you know. So
That's one thing I talk about. Like, sous vide kind of makes sense for catering if you sous vide it ahead of time and bring it and finish stuff in the oven. But it really doesn't because it's almost reversed where you need it to be like seared because you're not going to sear 1,000 pieces of steak at an event. You know what I mean? It's kind of like backwards. It kind of works. Like the
you're right. You're right. We've thought about it and talked about it, and I know like Boca Catering they do sous vide, right? So like, but they do the reverse sear method. I actually don't know that for sure, but I would imagine they do the reverse sear. So you would sear it first, then put it in the bag, right, and then reheat it, and then you're just taking it out of the bag and putting it on the plate.
Yeah.
We've mastered, cave cooking, so we do a great job with that, and we're still able to get all the flavors that we want out of it and the consistency and timing and temperature. So something
That's a
we
whole
might want
art.
to look at. Yeah, something we might want to look at. I do like a 72-hour braised short rib. I sous vide that. And there's certain things that I'll utilize it for, certain things we don't. So
Yeah.
I know this is lightning round. I just messed up the whole lightning round.
That's okay. It's allowed. Favorite Italian beef stand?
Al's.
All right.
The original.
Then I'm a Johnny's guy because that's what I grew up with, going to
Okay.
Johnny's in Elmwood Park.
That's fair. That's fair.
Favorite celebrity chef?
Probably Michael Anthony. I had a chance to work with him when he was at Gramercy Tavern in New York, and that guy gets under the tables with you and cleans the tables and what he believes as far as like farm to fork and Gramercy. Like what they stand for is consistency and in buying things in season and utilizing them and simplifying things but making them absolutely delicious. I think he's
That's really
Michael
cool.
Anthony.
Well, Charlie, it's really been good to have you on the show. I'm really looking forward to the next few things we got coming up. So thank you so much. I know you're a busy man, and taking the time means a lot to me, so appreciate it.
Me too. Thanks, Duce. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Today we have a very good friend of mine, Charlie Harris. He's the executive chef of Blue Plate, and let me say that again. All right, everybody, welcome to the Duce Raymond Podcast. All right, this is not starting out very good.
It's making me feel better, Duce. So that's good.
Yeah, right? What's his name? Kyle's going to have a fun time editing this one. All right, one more time from the top.